Hi BookTube, my name is Nathan, and this is the Rambling Reviewer, so called because I tend to ramble a lot. And today I just got back from work and about ready to do a lot of reading because I am behind on a few things for my reading, mostly for NewWorldsNovember, but for other events too. And I'm gonna spend a bit of time tonight trying to get caught up. But I thought before I do that, I would take some time to talk to you all about my TBR for the second week of New Worlds November. Um, Now, I'm pretty sure that everyone who is listening to this already knows what New World November is, but just for, I guess, continuity's sake, so that all the videos have it in them, I will say New Worlds November is an event hosted by the Bookish Bryans, Becky, and Scott, with the goal being to read science fiction, short form, um, under 250 pages, and each week has a different category. There's a lot of sub-categories and prompts, which you can use to try to track down sayings in the story, kind of like a scavenger hunt. And there's also a lot of co-hosts, of which I am one of them. Um, and I thought I'd just kind of jump right into my TBR for the second week of New Rules November. The category this coming week will be Extra-Terrestrial. That is anything that is set outside of Earth. So, another planet, asteroids, spaceships, starships, the middle of space, other universes possibly, cyberspace. Um, really, the sky is the limit in this case. Um, just as long as it's not on Earth. And so I'm going to jump right into them. So for each week, I'm hoping to read at least one long-ish work. So anything over like 100+ pages that kind of barely fits in usually will be close to 200 pages, or maybe even close to 250 pages. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure. There it is. Now I do have multiple ideas for longer works I want to read, but each week I have at least one thing I know I'm wanting to read. This current week, week one, it is Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, but I also have several other things that I plan to read alongside that if I have time. For the coming week, that longer work is Noise by Hal Clement. Hal Clement is a classic science fiction writer, apparently a hard science fiction writer. And I'm reading this both for New Worlds November, but also for Howl for the Holidays. Howl for the Holidays is being hosted by Brandy the Booklectic, alongside Scott Danielson, Sean D. Standfast, and Scott Bryant, the Bookish Bryant. So, three of those individuals, Brandy, Scott, Bryant, and Sean D. Standfast, are part of New Worlds November. Scott Bryant being our glorious leader. But I am very excited to read this. Now, to try to continue with Hal Clement, because for Howl for the Holidays, you need to read at least 2 stories each month, although you're welcome to read more. I plan to try to read more. I went to the library recently, and at the library book sale, they had a whole lot of these analog magazines. Now, I only bought this one because I didn't have a ton of money at the time. But this one has a Hal Clement story under. This is apparently a novella, about 70 or so pages, that is set in the Mescaline series. So I'm very excited to read this. I quite like that cover, the alien on the raft. Very cool. Oh, one of the aliens has kind of like almost like they are praying to something. That's that might not be the case. That could be, just a very worried look or a hopeful look. But I take that to be like they are praying to some kind of alien god. But again, I could be wrong about that. And this also has stories in it by David Brin, Ben Bova, Larry Niven, and Jack Williamson. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to read more of these stories, but I will at least read under main story. P.S. I'm considering walking to the library tomorrow, because I get paid tomorrow, and buying any more of these if they still have them. And if I do, you will all see that haul. But anyways, alongside these two, I'm also planning on reading First Contact by Murray Leinster. This is a story that is being read, that I'm reading alongside Scott and Becky at the Bookish Bryants, but also Fred from Read by Fred, another of our co-hosts. And I'm reading it out of this mass market paperback of the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, Volume 1A, which you will be seeing a lot more next week. Or the next week after this next week, the third week, the classic week. Because I plan to read all the stories I have not already read at that point in the story that week. That will basically be my entire week. Almost all of it. Yeah, Murray Leinster, First Contact. And this next thing I have to show you is also very, very unique. It's basically the exact same book. This is the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, Volume 2, Part A. And this one collects novellas, whereas this one collects short stories. Out of this one, I'm planning to read several stories. Universe by Robert Heinlein. I've read, for Robert Heinlein, I've read Starship Troopers so far. And last year I read The Roads Must Roll, which I very much enjoyed, and which I always have trouble pronouncing with my lisp. And then there were none by, I think it's Eric Ray Russell? Double check. Eric Frank Russell, sorry. Call Me Joe by Paul Anderson. Which I know is set on another alien world. Now, probably the bulk, though, of my second week will be taken up by this. Cordwainer Smith. I will be reading 4 stories out of this volume, which will complete this volume. I started reading it last year, just before NewWorldsNovember. I read out of this, this is not all of his stories, it's just the best of Cordwainer Smith. But out of this volume I've read Scanners Live in Vain, The Lady Who Sailed the Soul, The Game of Rat and Dragon, The Burning of the Brain, The Crime and Glory of Commander Suzdal, Gold in the Ship Was 000, and The Dead Lady of Clowntown, which is my favorite story out of here so far. I really, really liked The Dead Lady of Clowntown. I will be reading this week Under Old Earth, which is an add-on for my TBR, which leaves 4 stories left over. And those are Mother Hitten's Little Kittens, which is a really fun name, and I believe it is set after the events of The Crime and Glory of Commander Suzdal, because, spoiler alert, if you're worried about spoilers, I will wave my hands around and just, I guess, mute me for the couple of seconds I take to explain this. But spoiler alert, at the end of The Crime and Glory of Commander Suzdal, the eponymous Commander Suzdal sends cats to the planet that he is fighting his enemy over. They're having a star battle of sorts. And he then uses some kind of, time ray that speeds up time and when he does that, the cats rapidly evolve so that they can come in their own spacecraft and assist Commander Suzdal, which was quite fun. So, I'm thinking this will follow those cats. I'm not sure though. There. Spoiler alert over. Alpha Rough Boulevard, which is also a really fun name, is the next one. As well, and then the Ballad of a Lost Camel. And the final story is A Planet Named Sheol. A planet named Sheol is a cool name. Sheol is spelled Shayol, and I'm wondering if there's an intentional parallel there with the Hebrew word for the underworld, Sheol. I might be mispronouncing either of those words, but that word is spelled Sheol as opposed to Shayol. And so I'm almost wondering if this is going to be a ghost planet. I actually further am wondering if it's possible that a planet named Sheol will be Earth, long forgotten in this futuristic universe where humans have spread far beyond Earth. Not sure though. And it could even be based on stuff I have read about the human instrumentality universe, the universe that Cornwall Smith creates, that I'd just forgotten. So it might not even be me correctly guessing. It could just be me remembering something and forgetting that it was a memory. Totally possible. The final thing that I am sure I want to read will be out of the big book of science fiction, edited by Jeff and Anne Vandermeer. And I will be reading out of this Ian Banks' story, A Gift from the Culture. Now, if I have more time, I have 2 extra stuff I want to read. No, free extra stuff I want to read, which I might move around a little bit. I'm not sure totally yet. These are all certain that I definitely want to read. But if I have extra time, then I will also read Clifford D. Simak's All Flesh is Grass, which will be my first Clifford D. Simak book to read, and which I'll be reading so that I can avoid the wrath of Shaun D. Standfast. Now, I may possibly... Oh, wait, this is not, This is not an extraterrestrial work. I just read the back, and this is actually set in Millville, USA, so I can't actually read this for second week. I'll have to put this back to Classic Week, then. Sorry about that. Okay, so the 2 that I actually will be trying to read. First of all, out of this volume, Philip K. Dick, I plan to read the second story in here, which is The Free Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, which is a very cool name that I quite like. With the religious and kind of Lovecraftian undertones with the word stigmata and Eldritch. I actually originally pulled this out because I was trying to find books for Evil-a-thon, and I don't know how I first of all mistook the idea of Evil-a-thon, which is being hosted by Kasha over at Kasha's Book Cemetery, to read books that were set in the 90s, but it's actually just the prompts are based off of movies from the 90s. And first of all, this actually is not from the 90s, but when I looked it up, it came up on Google as being a 90s work. So I don't actually know why. It was probably just selective results. I think I put in something like 90s cosmic horror, 90s science fiction horror, which there really wasn't much of, honestly. And this came up because it would be science fiction horror, from my understanding. Um, Either way, though, I was wrong. So I still can read this. Even though it's not from the 90s, it's actually from like 1965. But I am planning on reading The Free Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch that week still. And the last thing I don't have to show you because I don't own it yet, but I am planning on buying a copy of The Best of Hal Clement. And so if I have extra time past this and past whatever other things I said to read uh, on the go, then I plan to dig a little bit into that volume when I get it to read some more Hal Clement stories. So, this concludes my TBR for the second week of New Worlds November, my Extra-Terrestrial reading. Let me know if there's anything that I mentioned, if you've read any of it, or if you are planning on reading any of it. Okay. I hope you're all having a great New Worlds November, and a great November in general.